Thank you, Carol. Hey, folks, thank you so much for joining us. This will be a relatively short webcast, only 20 to 30 minutes. And what I want to do is just share with you the working from home deployment kit and how to make the most of it. So, with that said, let's go ahead and jump right in. So, first and foremost, just a little introduction. Who's the SANS Institute? As most of you probably know, we are the global leader in information security training. Some little points of details there. And as some of you may know, not only do we train on site, but we train online. A little bit about myself. My name is Lance Spitzner. I'm the training director at SANS Security Awareness. I've been in cybersecurity for a little over 20 years. The first 10 years or so were on the technical side. So if anybody wants to nerd out after this, happy to geek out. But really, the past 10 years or so, I've been focused on the human side of cybersecurity. And in fact, I've authored two of SANS courses focused on just human security, security awareness, and the new two-day course on security culture. And to be honest, many of the elements from this two-day class went into building this deployment kit for you. So first and foremost, I always like to start with the problem. And the problem is, as all of us right now know, is with the coronavirus out, a lot of organizations are transitioning to a remote workforce. And the challenge is for a lot of organizations, we lack the resources, policies, and or technologies to secure the people that are working remotely. So for a lot of organizations, this is new. But on the flip side, for a lot of our employees, the very concept of working from home is new. So there's a lot of change going on, a lot of chaos going on, and a lot of anxiety. The other problem we have is when people are working at home, they're not in that protected environment we've created for them. So there's even a greater responsibility for these individuals to behave in a secure manner. So, what can we do to help these individuals? And more importantly, what can we do to help you, the organizations, in securing your workforce? Well, ultimately, it's not a technology solution. Technology can help, but this is ever more than ever the behaviors of our workforce is key. So in many ways, we have to quickly train and enable our workforce to securely work from home. The question then becomes, but how do we do that? That requires a lot of planning, but also a lot of resources. Well, it turns out, and I'm going to be honest, folks, this is why I love working at SANS. We have the solution for you. And because of the situation we are all in right now, everything I'm about to talk about is for free for the community. So this is all about helping you help your workforce. So what I'm going to do is talk about this deployment kit, how it works, but more importantly, how you can use it and how it can help you. So a little overview. What is the kit? What does the kit contain? It's really two elements. The first is a strategic guide. This is a step-by-step direction on how to determine what you need to train people on and how to do it. So you've got a guide that walks you through all the key points on how to roll out a security initiative to train your workforce. That's fantastic, but the other thing you need is a library, resources. So in combination with the strategic guide, what we're releasing is a vast list of training materials to engage and train your workforce, and in multiple languages. A lot of these materials are in 20, 30 different languages. And the reason we're doing such a big library is we know a lot of you have different requirements, different cultures. So this is designed to be as flexible as possible for an organization of only 500 people in one city or an organization of 500,000 people at a global level. So you've got the guide, which is a document, And you've got the library, which is this comprehensive resource of all these different materials for which you can pick and choose. And that library is made up of both our free public resources, but a huge part of it is also commercial resources, but that we're releasing to the public for free. So what I want to do is just give you an overview of how to use this strategic guide and then how to use that library of resources. So first, where do you start? Well, I recommend you read the deployment guide. It's 9 pages long. It's very simple. And like I said, it's based on the principles of the 2 courses we've been teaching and based on the lessons learned working with organizations and their awareness programs from around the world. So first and foremost, just take a moment, breathe, and read the deployment guide. The key thing here is we've made it as simple as possible. We know you have limited time, limited resources, and you're under a lot of pressure right now to do something fast. So simplicity is the key here. Second thing, security. Once you're done reading this deployment guide, and we walk you through how to do this, you're going to need to partner and work with your security team. It could be the Security Operations Center, Incident Response Team, Threat Intel Team. And what you're going to need to do is really identify and prioritize the top risks you're going to focus on, and then the behaviors that manage those risks. Now, we've already done all the hard work for you. We've identified the top risks, but you're probably going to need to modify that a little bit, either add, remove, and things like that. So first and foremost, work with your security team so you know what you need to teach. But the other key step is you're going to have to partner with comms, your communications team. You're going to work with them to figure out how to best to reach out to, communicate to, and engage your workforce. So the guide, the deployment guide, walks you through this. But to be successful, folks, and we've seen this working with hundreds of organizations, is the ability to partnership and work with these 2 departments, your security team and comms team. So first, read the deployment guide, take your security team out to lunch, take your comms team out to lunch, and you can go ahead and start executing. Now, for everything we're going to be talking about, it really comes down to changing human behavior. That's the whole purpose of this deployment kit. For those of you who may be familiar, BJ Fogg is a PhD who has spent his whole life studying how to change human behavior. And ultimately, the model to changing behavior, the model to securing your remote workforce, is enabling them to change behavior and motivating them to change behavior. And this is really why your security team and your communications team is so important, because you're going to work with your security team to identify the key behaviors you need to change, and you need to prioritize and focus on as few behaviors as possible and make those behaviors as possible. Quite often, this is the hardest part. We suffer from the curse of knowledge. We think cybersecurity is simple and easy because it is to us, but to the rest of our workforce, it can be confusing and overwhelming. So you're going to work with your security team to make security as simple as possible. Then you're going to work with your communications team to communicate to and engage your workforce. And that's all about motivation. So that's a big part of why I identified those 2 groups. It goes back all the way to behavior theory. Everything we're going to be talking about for the rest of this day and everything in this deployment kit is enabling people to change behavior and motivating them to change behavior. So what are those top risks? Well, after working with organizations for years, using data from like the Verizon DBIR, the SANS Internet Storm Center, tapping into a massive resource pool of subject matter experts of over 100 SANS instructors. Having all of this data, we have synthesized the top 3 risks you should start with when trying to secure your remote workforce. Don't try to perfectly secure them. Don't try to manage every human risk. The more behaviors you ask people to do, the less likely they can do them because we're overwhelming them. There's even a term for this, cognitive overload. So, first and foremost, social engineering. Think about it, folks. This is a prime breeding ground right now for bad guys to attack and fool our employees, especially at home. There's a lot of change, a lot of anxiety. Everybody's feeling a sense of urgency. We need to teach people to identify the key indicators of social engineering attacks and how to stop them. And I'm not talking just about phishing. There's phone calls, texting, social media, fake news. We need to ensure people understand the fundamentals. The second thing we're going to recommend you focus on is passwords. If you look at data like the Verizon DBIR, and you're looking at a lot of the breach reports, passwords are one of the most common reasons incidents and breaches happen today. So people need to understand the basic fundamentals of passwords. We have to make them simple. And then finally, updating. If all the devices, all the applications, all the operating systems, and all the apps are running the latest systems, updated and current, that is going to massively shrink that vulnerability surface you have. So these are the three areas we recommend you start with. And like we said, you can add other topics. So for example, things like reporting and incident response, or maybe there's some special training on VPNs. We've got this all covered in the deployment guide. But all I'm going to ask is for you to move quickly and to quickly secure that remote workforce. You're going to have to make some tough decisions, and you're going to have to decide what are the key behaviors you're going to focus on. And folks, I'll be honest, this is one of the toughest parts of our job. Our toughest part is not deciding what to teach. It's quite often deciding what to cut and what not to teach. We cannot manage all risks. So you need to prioritize the fewest risks that have the greatest return on investment. And based on all the data, all the subject matter experts, and all the organizations we've worked with, this is where we suggest you start. One of the things we reference in the deployment kit is also the digital download package for Management 433. You're like, what is that and why do I care? So Management 433 is a 2-day intense course on how to build mature awareness programs. One of the key things from this course is a digital download package with all these resources on how to build highly effective awareness programs. You do not need this for the deployment kit. This is just an extra value add. I primarily recommend these additional resources for either highly experienced awareness professionals or very large organizations that are going to have more complex deployments. So this digital download package is referenced and linked from your deployment kit. If you're a small organization, if you have to just move quickly, you probably don't want to reference this. But if you're large, complex, or experienced, and you really want to pump up the volume, these are just additional free materials to help you be successful. All right, so we have the deployment guide. We have all these additional templates and planning resources. How do I actually go out and do this? Well, you need training content. And this is normally a heavy lift. Everything we're providing here could take you easily 6 months to a year to build. And we have it ready for you right now. Now, this is a collection of both SANS, typically our public free resources, but a huge, huge part of this is also our commercial training products, which we're giving away for free because it's the right thing to do. So what's really exciting is we have a huge number of different training materials for all these different topics. We have them in different modalities: newsletters, podcasts, audio streams, digital signage, posters, infographics, fact sheets. So you have all these different modalities to choose from, but also in 20, 30 different languages. So this is designed to be very adaptable. Every organization has different requirements. Every organization has different culture. So you are free to choose whatever you want. So what happens is when you read that deployment guide, we list all these different risks you should be concerned about or just think about. For every single risk, for every topic we cover in that deployment guide, we have a link to all the different sources you can leverage. So when you click that link, you get taken to all these sources. Pick and choose whatever you want to use, whatever you think is going to be most effective. You're probably going to want to use multiple different types of materials. Different people, different cultures, learn in different ways. And this is where your communications department can help. So, for example, if you're going to teach about social engineering and teach your people what to look for, give them examples, what to do. Here's an example. In the deployment guide, if you clicked on that link, you're taken to a website, and here's all these different materials about social engineering. If you look at that folder in the top, there's languages. You click on that and you get everything again, but in 10, 20, 30 different languages. In fact, we're providing online video training for it also. So not only do you have all these materials, but here's an example of all the different languages the videos are available in. I think it's like 20, 30 different languages here. So lots of different modalities, lots of different topics, lots of different languages, which you can start deploying right after this webcast. We know you have to move fast. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you a couple of key things on how to be successful. This is after 10 years of working with organizations around the world, how to build an awareness program. And what we're talking here is less about a broad awareness program. It's more about how to leverage that deployment kit for a very specific security initiative to solve a very specific problem. Secure your remote workforce. So first and foremost, like I've already said, you're going to have to really prioritize what are really the top key risks. We've given you examples and we've given you our recommendation, but your organization may be different. Talk to your incident response team, your security operations center. Look at all the different incidents you've had in the past 6 to 12 months. Where's your biggest pain points? That's a good place to start. And to do that, you're going to have to partner and coordinate with the security team, but also your communications team, because how you push out this information will have a huge impact to your success. Form an advisory board, maybe not only so you're coordinating with security and communications, but also with your maybe human resources, legal, and something else. And I don't have the bullet point there, is I really recommend folks, your workforce is going to have a lot of questions, which is good. You want them engaging you. So one of the things the deployment guide states, and I recommend, create some type of process or mechanism where people can ask questions and or report suspicious activities or incidents. And it could be something like email, phone call, Slack channel, online forum. All I recommend is this: dedicate a person, a resource to manning whatever channel that is. Your workforce may feel like they're on their own. They're going to be overwhelmed. Make it simple for them to reach and communicate to your security team and ask questions. Folks, we have to think in a different way. Here's in a word, I'm going to give you a couple words you normally don't think of when you think of a security team, but you're going to have to start thinking about this. Words like approachable, empathy, helpful. That's what we as the security team is going to have to be for our workforce during these difficult transitioning times. So I really recommend create some type of mechanism for them to ask questions. An email may not be what you're looking for. Something more instantaneous, like an online forum, Slack, Skype, Yammer, whatever. And if you're going to do that, though, you have to dedicate somebody to be actively interacting with and responding to people. This could be one of your best secret weapons. And the reason I'm really beating all this in is this. Ultimately, our goal is to make security as simple as possible for people. They're overwhelmed. You think cybersecurity is simple. You think firing up a VPN is not a problem. Two-factor authentication, not a big deal. But for a lot of people out there, that's scary, confusing, intimidating. So take that step back and always think, how can I make this as simple as possible? And that's where comms can be your friend. Finally, one of the things you will find on the deployment website is we have a very simplistic fact sheet, what we call the top 5 things anyone should do for home. This is for really small organizations, say 50 people or less, and or individuals or families. Do you want to know the key 5 things to securing yourself while working at home? This is where we recommend you start. And once again, it's on that deployment kit website. All right, a lot of you are going, Lance, you keep talking about it. Where do I get it? There's the URL, sans.org, work from home kit. Just go there. Everything I've talked about is already available and online. You can be training your workforce here in no time. Okay, I promised this would be short. I promised this would be sweet. I know a lot of us are very busy. So what we're going to do now is this. Open this to your questions and or folks, hey, suggestions. We put this together over the weekend. So we know there's ways to improve and we want to hear from you. If you have questions about the materials, the deployment kit, you can go to this email address right here, support@sans.org. But Carol, do we have any questions? What can I do to help you folks out there?
Hi, Lance. Yes, thanks for that great presentation. We do have several questions that have come in. I'm assigning the first 2 so you can see them in the questions window because they're rather long, but I'll read it out loud as well. It says, partnership with IR and security would mean baselining ingress-egress filter on a home firewall blacklisting known bad domains IP. How can, is it modern defense?
Okay, I see. I see. Yep, okay. Yep. So, hey, Peter. Okay, remember, I was a geek like you. My concern is you've gone off and you've totally nerded out. You're talking about ingress, egress filters and things like that and home architecture. We've got to remember there's no longer any perimeter. The perimeter is dead, especially when people are working from home. So the whole idea here is that's why we have to focus on those fundamental points. We have to focus on social engineering, because the human has become the primary attack vector for people. The second issue is by passwords and updating, we address a lot of those issues. So I know where you're coming from. I'm a geek at heart, but we're going to have to pause and take a step back and realize technology is not going to solve all these problems, because so many people are working from home now, and in those home environments, we have really no control. So, and then Peter, if I didn't answer your question, you can just email me personally, my email address. And Carol, if you could just put this in the chat window, lspitzner@sans.org. So Carol's going to put my email address in the chat channel for everyone. So Peter, if I didn't answer your question, good enough, email me.
All right, thanks, Lance. I did pop that in the window just now. So this next one also, it says, this is a technical question, perhaps for after the arranged talk. On the topic of social engineering, any technical tips for address? This is folks on your team use the dashboard pictured in this post, and then he posted a link there.
Oh, okay, yep. So in other words, it looks like Patricia's referencing, basically, bad guys are putting up bogus websites about having information about COVID-19, coronavirus. So people go to these websites to get the latest updates. not realizing they're going to bad websites. So what happens, and this is the beauty if you approach social engineering correctly, the vast majority of time, just by understanding a few of the most common indicators of a social engineering attack, people can spot this. So with just 4 or 5 indicators, it doesn't matter if the bad guys use email, phone, texting, social media, bad websites, fake news. Give the people these indicators, and then they will be able to spot them. So things like tremendous sense of urgency, too good to be true, things like impersonation. So, and what this is all covered in that deployment guide, all covered in all those materials we've released. The whole idea here is something like this, fake news. Absolutely. This is a perfect example you would want to share in your little in a security initiative. Hey, folks, here's an example of how bad guys are creating a sense of urgency using the recent coronavirus. Don't trust these sites that create a sense of urgency. If you want to know what's really going on, you go to the World Health Organization, you go to CDC, always go to a trusted website. And it's the same thing you teach in other examples. Same thing with a phishing email. You get an urgent email from your bank. You don't click on the link. You open your browser and you type in the URL or click on a bookmark and visit the bank on your own so you know that you're visiting the right place. So what happens is, instead of teaching people to every specific attack, if you focus on the fundamentals, the most common indicators, they will be armed to spot and stop attacks like this. And that's really what the training's all about. Teach them the fundamentals, because people are surprisingly adaptable if they know what to look for. All right, Carol,
Right,
anything
thanks,
else?
can you display the URL for the kit again, please?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, hold on here, folks.
Okay.
There we go, right
And
there.
then,
Stand. Yeah.
thanks. Any quick advice for one-man bands?
Yeah, for one-man band, if you are in, it depends how time constrained you are. So I'm gonna flip around. If you have absolutely no time at all, go to the deployment kit, grab this document, single document, and give it to everyone. That's like if you have 30 seconds and that's it, that's what this fact sheet is all about. Then if you have any more time, just focus on those 3 topics I identified. They're in the deployment guide: social engineering, passwords, and update. And that's the whole purpose we developed this kit. I don't know where to start. I don't have time to do everything. Just tell me what to do. That's the case. Social engineering, passwords, updates. Go in the deployment guide, click on each one of these. You'll see all these different resources. If you want videos, use videos. If you want newsletters, use newsletters. Whatever works best for you. So start here if you have no time at all. If you only have a little bit of time, those 3 top topics, grab the materials, run with them. If you have a little bit more time, a little bit more of a challenging environment, then I recommend going, like I said, partnering with security, partnering with comms, things like that. Remember, folks, this is not a technical issue. This is a human issue. So we need to work with and partner with people and keep people in mind. And I know that for those of us with a purely technical background, this is something new. What else?
All right, thanks. So I think you kind of answered this. Once we download the digital download package, where do we start? So I think you just addressed that with your fact sheet.
Yep. Well, no. So remember, right here, where do I start? Read the deployment guide. So when you download the kit, all you're really downloading is the single page deployment guide. The deployment guide links to a bunch of different resources. So that's why we call it the kit, because the kit is both this guide and all these resources.
All right, thanks. A lot of people are thanking you for sharing the knowledge and for this important webcast. Someone else asks, what do you think of using Google Remote Desktop? I'm not sure if you're able to speak to that or not.
So Google Remote Desktop, it's a technical solution. It really depends on how able is your IT team to support it, any questions, but how easy is it for people to use? So that's, for example, a lot of times people ask me, hey, Lance, which antivirus is the best? And I always tell them the same thing. You know what? Whichever one is easiest for you to use, as long as it comes from a trusted vendor. So I would recommend is this. There's a lot of change going on, a lot of anxiety, a lot of sense of urgency. So even for your technical solutions, go with, in many ways, if you have two different options, go with whichever one is simpler for people to adapt to. Simplicity, I feel, is key to this transition we're going through right now.
All right, thanks. Are any of the videos in the SCORM format to use Cornerstone to distribute?
So all the videos right now are online and streaming. So you have to stream them from the URLs.
Okay, thanks. Someone says the link to download the deployment kit loops back to the security awareness page.
So there was a bug yesterday that was involved in that, and it was for about 30 seconds. The site should be fine now. We had a bug for about, so if you go to that, because I tested it right before this webcast. What other questions?
All right, thanks. So there's a couple that sound a little similar. Can these URLs from the kits be posted on our own social media accounts? And someone's asking, is it okay for us to customize these materials, adding our logo, company name, etc.?
So sure, absolutely. So what happens is, it depends. When you go to the resources, if the resources are in a Word format, absolutely, go ahead, modify, edit, however you want. If the resources are in a non-editable format, like a PDF or a JPEG, those you cannot modify.
All right, thanks. We block Dropbox. Any way to get the digital download package?
Sure, and I totally get it. Just wait until you get home and then go to the digital download package from home. It's only about 50 megs. It's basically spreadsheets, Word documents, and PowerPoint slides. You can just download it from home and then take it to work.
All right, thanks. Did you say that the materials from the management433.org class is available to us for free?
The digital download package, not the course itself, but the digital download package. So the digital download package are all these additional planning resources, templates, policies. So for example, there's an interactive security awareness metrics matrix. There's examples of how to put together an entire security awareness project plan. There's all different types of, it's very big, it's very robust, and it's designed for deploying an enterprise security awareness program. So I reference it for organizations that are larger and more complex, but it is no way required for anything that we've talked about here.
All right, and can you go back to that link for the deployment guide on the slides? Thank you. Cool.
There we go.
Maybe just leave it there. Great, we can just leave it there for a minute or two. That'd be great.
Sure, no problem.
And you've got some more feedback that says the kit downloads fine, so that's good.
Thank you, folks.
Do you have any guidance for our offshore third parties who want to allow their workforce to work from home?
Yeah, use the deployment kit. Anyone is welcome to use this deployment kit. So maybe repeat the question. Maybe I didn't understand it right.
You know what? I have deleted it, so we'll ask them to resubmit. See if they can clarify further. The next one asks, do you have a view on using coronavirus fish simulations? My supplier has said they now include them, but I am personally against, as it is risky and decreases trust between you and your staff.
So I'm going to agree with that. And we've actually had a big debate within, so I help maintain a forum for security awareness officers, about 1,000 of them. And we had that discussion. And the general consensus, not everyone agreed, the general consensus is right now is probably not the time to do a phishing simulation based on coronavirus. Absolutely warn people, absolutely train people about coronavirus scams. Let them know about the coronavirus scam. In fact, if you go to this URL right now, there's a video of me that explains how bad guys are using coronavirus to scam people. So teach them and inform them. But due to the sensitivity of this, I would not do it. Now, some of you are going, but Lance, bad guys are doing it. Absolutely. But my counter to that would be, you know what? You're probably going to do more harm than good because people are going to feel like you took advantage of them. And then they're going to be upset and they're not going to trust the security team. So I get where you're coming from, but remember, this is all about helping enable our folks, building trust with them and things like that. So in general, I would, unless you have a specific situation, your organization, very low tolerance for risk or something like that, I would, in general, my guidance would be in most cases, probably not the best thing to do right now.
Okay, thanks. What services do you recommend for the secure file transmission? Rather than having employees email files, do you have recommendations for employees working from home and sending files around in a secure manner?
So once again, there's all different types of technologies out there that could do that. It really comes down to if you're doing something new, I would go with something simple. So for example, theoretically, most of your cloud services could be considered a way to transfer files between each other, like a Google Drive, a Dropbox box, or things like that. So it really depends on what your risk tolerance is, what your IT team can support. And like I said, by default, I like to go with whatever's easiest for the troops out there.
All right, thanks. My question was not about the deployment kit document. It is about the management 433 digital download package. I'm trying to understand how to best navigate the resources to find what I need. So we're going back to a previous question.
Yep. Okay, I'm almost thinking maybe I should not have referenced the digital download package. First of all, for the vast majority of organizations, you don't need the digital download package. The reason I referenced it is I was concerned organizations may have large, complex environments where they need to really take things to the next level. If you go through all those materials, you would find all sorts of examples from past full-blown security awareness programs and things like that. Now, the digital download package was not developed for standalone. It's a complement to the course. So if you take the course, a lot of the different elements may make probably make a little bit more sense. However, part of the reason why I did include that in there is at some points in the deployment kit, I do reference, hey, if you want to know a little bit extra about this, grab this file from the deployment kit, the course digital download package. And one example is the interactive metrics matrix. Because a lot of times people are asking, how do I measure all these behaviors? And that's just one of the main things in that digital download package.
Thanks, Lance. Is there any way to get a cleaner link for the videos? They look very suspicious and it feels strange sending them out.
Clean, you know what? Let me find out from our IT team. I'm assuming you want something a little bit simpler and okay, good one. That's a good suggestion. Let me talk to our IT folks and see what we can do.
All right, thanks. Let's see. There are PDF files that have instruction. Click here to add your logo. Okay to customize as it's specified on the file?
Absolutely. Great question, and thank you. So yeah, if the PDF says you can, modify me, put my logo there, logo away.
All right, thanks. And I just noticed that Dan here clarified that that question that I missed earlier. Do you have any guidance for our offshore third parties who want to allow their workforce to work from home? So this goes back a few minutes here.
Say again the question.
So about 5 or 10 minutes ago, I read a question that you said your answer was to use the deployment kit. So it says, that missed question was, do you have any guidance for our offshore third parties who want to allow their workforce to work from home?
My suggestion would be treat them like your own workforce and feel free to provide all these materials. They are welcome to it also. Anybody, anywhere in the world is welcome to these files.
All right, thanks. Does SANS have a short overview course for employees who will be working from home that reinforces this material?
Absolutely. All the videos in the deployment guide, in the deployment kit. That's the entire purpose of the deployment kit. Short, quick training. The thing is we can't have one video that does it all because every organization is a little different. So that's why we're giving you all this different flexibility to pick and choose. If you can't pick and choose, I'm going to go back one slide, then just give them the fact sheet.
All right, thanks. Let's see, someone says, great kit. All the resources linked in the document are pretty well documented with other languages that we can all share in our social media to also help friends and family.
Absolutely.
So someone says, what do you think about employees printing sensitive information from home?
That's an excellent question. What do we think about that? It really depends on what your tolerance for risk is going to be, and then you're going to have to develop policies. If they print it at home, how do they dispose of it? Do they have a shredder? Are we concerned about guests and things like that coming, or kids? And by the way, that's one of the things covered in this training and the fact sheet. How do we handle kids? Didn't have to worry about that one in the office, did we? So really, that comes up to you. Should people print sensitive documents? It depends how important the mission is. It depends on what your tolerance of risk is. And you have to make sure that that process is somehow included what you want them to do after they print that sensitive document.
All right, thank you. Someone suggests VDI is a good solution for offshore as well as all workforce.
Outstanding, thank you.
All right. I am an info security trainer. Can I use this approach or kit to train my students offline?
Train your, like I said, right now, as long as this is all about securing people to work from home securely, we don't care who has access to it. All we're going to say is when we put this out there, nobody can charge people money for this. We want to be sure anyone, anywhere in the world gets free access to any of these materials. This is all about helping the community.
Okay, and our last one is, where are the videos again?
So what happens is the videos are once again linked from the deployment guide. When you go to the website right here, you'll download that guide and it has links. So in other words, in that guide we'll say, hey, teach people about phishing. And oh, by the way, here's all these videos about phishing. Teach people about working remotely. Here's all the videos about working remotely. And anytime you click on those links, it sends you to all those different resources. So what we try to do is put everything in one document to make this as simple as possible. Download document, read document, and execute.
All right.